I'm wide awake, yeah, I was in the dark. I was falling hard with an open heart. I'm wide awake, how did I read the stars so well? I'm wide awake, and now it's clear to me that everything you see ain't always what it seems. I'm wide awake, yeah, I was dreaming for so long.
Alright guys, this is going to be math analysis class. This is just going to be a test run to see how it goes, and I'm going to be helping with the assignments for math analysis. And so I hope that I will be able to explain this via YouTube. And so we're going to start off with just a couple problems from the review homework from 1.1, relations and functions. And so we'll start off with problem 17. And here it wants you to write each relation as a table of values and as an equation, and then it wants you to graph. And then you have some sort of saying like the domain is all positive integers less than 10. And so what that is you have a domain, and then all those domain integers will be, well, less than 10. But they will also be positive, and so that means all positive integers are above 0. And so we'll do that, and that covers the equation part of it for the domain. And let's see, and then if we go over to the range will be 3 times x. So we write that as r equals 3x, and domain also represents x. So really what it'll be is we'll have numbers from the domain, and we'll be plugging them into x to find the range. And so now we gotta chart these as well. And so we'll have x values of the domain, and we'll have y values of the range. And so we need to start with our positive integers, so start at 1, 2, 3, and then so on all the way up till 9. No. The reason why I don't do 10 is because it doesn't say 10 and below, it just says integers less than 10. And then to find the range, what we do is we'll take our x value and we'll plug it in this equation. So the range for this first one will be 3, 1, and we get 3. And then this next one, we plug in a 2, and so we get 6. And then it's pretty explanatory as we go through the pattern. 21, 24, 27. See, hope you can read that well. And so then there's our chart. And so then it asks us to graph it. And so I'm just going to make the corner graph because all these integers are positive, and you can draw the rest, but there's not really a need I see to it. And so then now we're just plotting points. 3 and 2. So we'll have 1, 3, 2, 6. See, and I think he'll probably accept that if you do that, because it's just a line up. And then it'll stop at 927, so the graph gets to be pretty huge. And so now we'll move on to 19. Just another example. Explaining this, we have the domain is all integers greater than -5. So we'll start with our domain, and it's greater than integers that of -5. And so we know we'll have a -5, and the domain will be greater than that of all the integers in there. And it's also less than or equal to 4. So see here, I have to add the line under because it's less than or equal to. Then the range will be, then it says the range we have is 8 more than x. So the range will be x, but then it's also 8 more, so we'll add 8. And so now we'll move on to making our table. And then, so we need to start off with -4, because it's not equal to -5, but it's still greater. And then we'll move up to -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll include 4 because it tells us to. And then what we do here is it's the same thing we did over here with plugging the x values in. And so here we can plug them in. -4 plus 8, which equals 4. So we plug that in. Then we can do it again, but there's a trick here. Is since these numbers are going up by 1, these numbers will now go up by 1. And that is the case just because of the pattern here, and we're only adding 8 to every number, so it makes sense that this side would go up by 1 too. And so now I need to graph it. I'll draw the full one this time, and so I have -4, 4, -3, 5, and then this will go all the way up to 412. And that is the first two problems. I hope this helped, guys, and if I do post this on YouTube, feedback would be helpful. So I hope that helped. Alright guys, this is a continuation of 1.1, and I'm just going to be doing 2 more problems, and I'm going to do 21 and 24. Now this is still a test. I'm still trying to decide of what I'm actually going to want to do for the rest of the chapters, but I'm going to do 21, which is in the assignment, and then 24, and hopefully that'll give you a good idea to do 23 and 25. So we'll go to 21, and of these problems it wants you to state each relation as a set of ordered pairs, so it wants you to make points and then state the domain and range. So for 21 you have a chart with x values and y values, and your x values are -10, -5, 0, and 5, and all the y values are just 0. And so first we'll make them all points, and so we'll do that by simply like this, and then adding commas between each point. And then we'll finish up like that. And so that is your ordered pairs, your set of ordered pairs. Now for the domain and range. So your domain is just going to be all of your x values. So it's going to be -10, -5, 0, and 5. Now the reason why the domain isn't -10 through 5 is because, well, there's no points classified through there. So if it said something like the points were greater than or equal to -10 and less than or equal to 5, then the domain would be -10 to 5. But since we just have 4 points, we have 4 points are the domain, and those are the only x values. And then the range is pretty simple since there's only one value for that, and that is 0. Now I think you're supposed to put commas around that, but I didn't. And so now we'll move on to 24. And this is just to give you an idea of what to do for 23 and 25. Now in 24 they have points coming down at a negative sloping line there. And it looks like with this one, I'm just going to kind of plot the points I see. So it looks like it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over and 5 up. So -5, 5, The next point looks like 3, negative 3, 3. And then negative 1, 1. Then we're getting fancy here and going 2, negative 2. And then 4, negative 4. Now we'll have the domain and range for this one too. And this one, it's going to be exactly like the last one. You just put all the points on there, all the x values essentially. So those are all the x values, and so that is your domain. There are no other possible x values because they're just points. And then for the range, we just put that down as well. Now for the range, I think it'd be best if you went from negative to positive there, because that is the order what you do it. Now this one, if it's just a chart, but if there's a line going through all those points, then you would assume that the domain travels along the line. So if the lines like started at negative 5, 5 and then went to 4, negative 4, then the domain would be negative 5 to 4, because the line includes all values in between. But there's just the points, and so that is how that works. And I'll stop the video here.
So far they all think I'm too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. I'm just too white and nerdy. Really, really white and nerdy. First time class.